Hey, welcome to My Drink and My Truth, the podcast and the quarantine chat you never knew you needed. Here, we'll create a safe space for women to discuss and unpack the dynamic of all relationships, from dating to marriage and friendship and everything in between. So grab your drink and get ready to speak or discover your truth. We are back for a second episode. And of course, I have my girls with me, Miss Elaine Antoinette. Say hey to the people.
Hey, y'all.
Welcome back to My Drink and My Truth. And I have new to the show, Miss Andreas here. Dre, say hey to the people.
Hey.
And we have another new person to the show, Miss Jess is in the building. Just say hey to the people.
Hey, people.
All right, so today's topic is actually just a piggyback off the last episode, which was types and standard, where Elaine and I kind of broke down our definition of types and standards. And the conversation of standards kind of went into discussing like non-negotiable, things that we just won't bend on when entering a relationship or being in a relationship. And it kind of reminded me of the clip of Russell Wilson that I saw about him explaining his non-negotiable when he was looking for his wife. And in the clip, he said, marriage is like a business deal. I'm going to play the clip real quick for the listener.
I never forget, like, be in this space of, like, what do I really want? Like, what am I looking for? And I think, really, I wanted a relationship, a long-lasting relationship. I wanted love. I wanted kids. I wanted family. I didn't want perfection. I just wanted the perfect thing for me. And so, anyway, so I ended up writing down my 5 non-negotiables, because really, really, marriage is a partnership. It's a business deal in a way, but it's really a partnership. It's like, hey, we're going to do this forever. Like, how are we going to partner and do this, right? And so for me, I thought of it that way. I was like, okay, well, when you go into a partnership deal or a business type deal, you want to think about what are your non-negotiables? What are the things that, this is what I want, and this is what I have to have, and this is what I'm looking for. So I wrote down my 5 non-negotiables.
All right. So he said marriage is like a business deal. Okay. And that is the topic for tonight. Marriage is a business deal. But before we get into this discussion, ladies, I have to know, what are you guys drinking tonight? So, E, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking, of course, my whiskey sour.
Oh, Lord. It's about to be real, y'all.
Whiskey makes me frisky.
Oh, Lord.
And we move on. Ray, what are you drinking tonight?
A Hennessy Arnold Palmer.
Ooh,
that sounds good.
Okay, tell us more.
For the classy people, I got some lemonade, Hennessy, and some unsweetened iced tea. Just makes it a little nice. Kick better.
Is that stirred or shaken? It sounds a little bit of swirl.
I'm a little swirl.
It's on the rock.
I hear swirl.
Jess, what are you drinking tonight?
All right, so I was going to make a margarita, but I decided to have a glass of wine. So I'm drinking the Biltmore Estate Riesling 2016.
Oh, she just got fancier and fancier as we got on.
Nah, it's not good, though. And it's like 13% alcohol, so I'm lit.
Ooh. All right, so I'm drinking tonight. I don't know if you guys have ever tried these ice sparkling waters, but this is the one with the caffeine in it. Those I feel are better than the ones in the bottles. So this is this triple citrus flavor with 2 shot Patron.
Oh, you drinking Patron?
Yeah, so it's lit over here. Okay, I'm about to spill all the tea over here.
All right,
well, I just one shot, y'all. If y'all gonna make it, get that 2 shots in. But right, so ladies, we have our drink and we are ready to spill the truth. So let's jump right into the topic. Marriage is a business deal. How you ladies feeling about that?
I think in a sense it can be. When you enter a marriage, you're entering a partnership, which is essentially what you're doing if you go into business with somebody, or if you just go into business by yourself, you build different partnerships with your vendors or whatever. So yeah, I would say essentially it is, a business deal or a business transaction.
I think when Elaine first texted me and said that was going to be the topic of discussion, I said, "What the fuck?" At first, because I'm like, I've never really heard of that. But then,
Really?
yeah, not really like a business transaction. I mean, when you say that, but then my husband kind of made me think of it differently. Was it like reality or what's it called?
Like
Figuratively.
figurative.
Right. So with like figuratively speaking, like Russell Wilson was saying in the video that he had his 5 things and he wasn't budging on his 5 things. He wasn't gonna give up. He wasn't gonna settle. So it's kind of basically like a business transaction. When you're fighting for something that you want so bad, you're not gonna settle for something that you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, I guess, my way figuratively as a business transaction.
I'm half and half with that. I don't necessarily think that a marriage or relationship is more like a business deal, because in certain businesses you tend to think of more things that benefit yourself. In a relationship, you do have to think about things that benefit both you and the person.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that was deep right there.
Oh, that's that Hennessy girl. No, I really like that, Dre. But I kind of wanna touch base on what Jess said a little bit about if you're fighting for something that hard. So do you feel like it could be more of a business deal if it's a marriage, if you're looking into a marriage, or do you feel like it's the same grounds if entering a relationship?
Definitely not, because in a relationship, I always think of how women go so hard for some men, in relationships, and in reality, he doesn't even want to settle. So you have this woman that's being submissive and submitting to this man when he has no intentions of bettering her for the future, giving her kids, putting a ring on her finger. So it's definitely just the hard work when it comes to being in a marriage, because being in a marriage, I'm married. I've been married for almost 3 years. And being in me and my husband, obviously we were in a relationship, but being in a marriage is different. You got to fight for certain things. This is your life. This is your legacy that you're trying to build. It's not really a game,
So do you think that the question of a business deal came in full gear when you guys decided to like take the relationship to the next level and be married? Or do you feel like in a sense it was approached entering the relationship that you already knew that you wanted marriage with this man and was hoping he felt the same way towards you, and then you put your business plan out there? Or is it once like, hey, let's make this official, then it's like, let's discuss what this plan is going to be?
I would definitely say in the relationship wise, just because we were together for such a long time, that was different for some people. We were together since 14, 15 years old. So we were kind of able to mold each other, into the people that we wanted for each other. We were able to do that. Now, when you meet somebody that has been through relationship after relationship, dealing with society and everything like that, and then you guys try to come together, it's very much harder than it would be, in my situation. So I would think for us, definitely we were kind of rock solid before we got married and figured things out then. But for some people, I would really recommend doing that closer to, being married and stuff, because you never know. You can be with somebody for 5 years and never know them. Then you get married to them, they're a whole different person.
Right. I was a little surprised when you said you never heard of it, because for me, that has always been a thought, like approaching a relationship, like almost like a business deal, because for me, a relationship is a give and take type situation, right? Which is what a business deal is. And adjusting the situation before entering and making sure that there's going to be like a good sense of balance, right? Or imbalance for that part. So I think when I heard Russell Wilson say that, it resonated with me, because that's kind of how I've seen relationships, especially like, dating. It's like, okay, this is not going to work out because I'm putting more into this relationship and I'm not really getting as much back. So this is not going to work out. This deal is not good for me. You know what I mean? And I think it's important to kind of like think about what Dre said, because a lot of times going in a business deal, you do have to make sure that you're getting the better benefit. But still, there's still a sense of making sure that I get something too.
I agree. I wouldn't say necessarily think of it as who's getting the better benefit. I think, in a business, like in a typical business transaction, like, yes, that's ideal. You want to make sure that both parties benefit. But of course, just being a human being, you kind of have your own interests at heart. And it's like, I don't want to go into this and invest time and money into this and then come out broke. But when you entering a relationship, although there are similarities, I think it needs to be more about balance between what each person is gaining out of this, and not necessarily, okay, I'm getting more from this than you are. I think it needs to be like some type of middle ground.
Yeah, and I think that's where the business part of it comes in, because making sure that there is a balance, a sense of balance, which is how it differs.
When I was saying that in a business, you look at it as how it's going to be more beneficiary to you. You can't do that in a relationship, because you have to understand not everybody is raised like you. So some of the morals in the things that you would think that's not okay, to somebody else, they were raised like that was okay. Just like Jess said, like to her husband, which is a good thing. They've been together since they were like 14, and they've learned each other. They know each other in and out. To somebody that you're just meeting, you don't know them in and out. So it's not like in a business deal, you're just going to sign this paper and think that he or she is trustworthy. You're going to do your homework. You're going to do your research. You're going to do whatever you need to do. But in a relationship, it's literally, can I put up with this? And if I can't put up with this, then maybe I should back up, or maybe I can settle and let it be changed. Because some of the things that we as people get mad about, it's a personal thing. It's not necessary. Some people just don't know because they never had to deal with it.
I think that's true too. How you were raised plays a big part in pretty much anything that you do.
Yeah, that kind of brings me to like the other question that I have, like, what are the grounds? Because like when you're making a business plan, right, and you're writing out the clause of this contract or whatever it is that you're about to enter, right, there's always different things that you want to be clear about before you sign the deal, right? So what are some of these things in a relationship for you guys?
A big thing for me in a relationship is respect. It has to be all types of respect. I'm religious, so religion.
Do you feel like your partner has to be religious too?
He can't believe in the devil. Not my house.
No, take that somewhere else now.
not in my house. I don't mind if you believe in a different religion from me, but you ain't about to be in here with no 666 Bible talking about this.
No.
Not in this. Not in this house. So when I say religion, you can think of, I don't believe in God, but I believe in a higher being. I'm okay with that. We can agree to disagree with that. We never have to revisit it again. I think you have to have some form of faith for me. Communication. I believe that a big part of where relationships fail is communication. You have to be able to talk to your spouse about anything that's bothering you or anything that you want to do and support. Like, my husband has to be my biggest support system. He has to be my number one fan, and I for him.
Basically, like, you stick up for me in public and you check me in private. There you go.
That's a word.
That is definitely something that needs to happen. Some people don't know how to do that. And I think our generation has lost every bit of moral and respect. And it's hard to find a good man out here nowadays because of how these females lower their standards. And they think every female is going to act like these girls twerking and just not having respect.
Dre said her standards for business deals are harder to get that contract signed because they giving out the free out here.
Yeah, because I'm not trying to bust it down, Tatiana. Like,
right.
I think for me, more so, like, the important things kind of goes back to things that I stated on episode 1 about, standards and types. Is definitely respect, being able to communicate, and someone that is like comfortable in their own skin. It's fine that, you want to grow. I want to encourage growth, but you kind of have to have like the base. I'm not here to raise anybody, especially not no grown ass person. I already have a child. I don't need a grown man child on top of that. So definitely you have to be comfortable in your skin, at least have some type of head on your shoulders. Those are like the deal breakers. if you don't bring that to the table, we can't talk.
I feel you on that. Definitely for me, relationship wise, with communication would probably be the biggest thing. Like Andrea was saying, nowadays relationships, that's the hit or miss in relationship is communication. If I can't sit here and tell you, like me and my husband, we didn't used to communicate that good. And I used to tell him, we used to get into argument. Oh, you made me feel this way. Okay, well, I didn't make you feel that way. But one thing is, how are you going to tell me how you made me feel? I'm trying to come to you to let you know that what you did made me feel some type of way. But since you're so caught up in what you think and that you don't think that you did this to me or made me feel this way, now we're stuck at a crossroads and we can't communicate because you're mad that I feel some type of way. And now I'm mad because you're not understanding what I'm saying. So then that causes bigger arguments for no reason that can go on for days sometimes. So definitely communication, respect. Someone, like, if I'm going to be in a long-term relationship, I have to look forward to you. You have, like, your family has to be respectful. I have to see how you treat your mom. Because that definitely says one thing about a man. Is how he treats his mom. And, just different things like, are you clean, to be honest? Because I'm not trying to be dealing with that. Not so more of the cooking, but, definitely just little things here and there, but communication would be the number one thing for me.
I find it interesting that you all said communication, because when I was thinking about like entering a quote unquote business deal in a relationship, I was thinking more of things like maybe more things of like, background and stuff like that. Because for me, I feel like communication, like Drea had said, is learning someone, right? It's like once you're in that relationship, then it's like we need to figure out how we communicate best. Because again, everybody's communication style is not the same. So I think that is something, like you said, Jess, in the beginning, you and your husband did not have the best style of communication. But as you guys grew, you learned what works best for your marriage. I think for me, when I'm thinking about a business deal in form of a relationship, I'm more thinking that this person is, like my favorite word ever is like-minded. I consider myself a very ambitious person, and I would want that person to kind of have that kind of same trait and understanding, because like you said, you want someone who is supportive. And I have found that if someone does not understand your drive, sometimes it's hard for them to support you in it.
Right. You guys are always going to hit a wall.
Right. Because then it becomes like, oh, you're spending this much time doing this and not spending this much time in me. But it's like, if we both have that drive to be ambitious and stuff, then we understand our process individually and could connect and support each other as a team.
Right. Like, let's build now, we'll spend all the time later.
Right. And that's why I feel like it's very important for whoever you get into a relationship with to kind of have a sense of self-identity. Like I said, you don't have to be where you want to be, but as long as you kind of have a goal, you have a path, something in mind, it'll be much easier for you guys to be on the same page, because you guys both are ambitious, like you said. You both have a goal that you're trying to reach. So you kind of understand the things that go into trying to accomplish that goal, whether it be the same goal or not. You still have your favorite word, Mahalia, like-mindedness with each other. I'm about to get a t-shirt,
get it tattooed.
Please don't. Not a tattoo, honey.
Well, Mahalia, you know how I feel about the word like-minded, and what you have to understand is, in a relationship, y'all are definitely not going to be like-minded in every little thing. Yeah, y'all may have like the little things that are in common, but you're never going to have like a fully like-minded person. And you have to understand, if y'all both like-minded, you're always going to see, white and black. It's never going to be gray in between. Sometimes in a relationship, this person brings a different side of you out to make you view things in a different way that you never thought that you would see at any other moment. So, like-minded, this is how we're going to do the house. Yeah, I agree that this may work. You may not ever get to experience different things when you're with somebody like-minded. Y'all always going to play it safe.
See, I would agree and kind of disagree at the same time. Like, I agree that, yeah, you want to find someone that is going to help you eventually elevate and learn more things. But I feel like when it comes to being like-minded, it's not so much in the sense of you guys always having the same ideas and constantly being like on the same page. Sometimes y'all could just be in the same book and be like-minded, like using your example of, decorating the house. I think if y'all come to a compromise where it's like, okay, you know what, us arguing about how we're going to decorate a house is not worth losing this relationship over. In a sense, that's kind of like having like-mindedness,
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree on that, because when I say like-minded, I'm not talking about the little things. I'm talking about the things that are going, like the hardcore, like concrete staple stuff in our relationship. I'm talking like ambitious. I'm talking about, our views on family, on society. Like if we are like-minded in the core things like decorating the house, things like, what kind of car we should, what family car we should get. Those things are, they're always going to have differences in those things. But I need a like-minded person that is just concrete. And like the other thing for me, that's just like non-negotiable going into a business or a relationship deal, is definitely family. I come from a very close-knit family, and I'm not saying he necessarily has to come from one too, but I need to know that we have the same views or something close, or understand that there will be compromising in raising our kids. Like for me, going into a relationship, wanting to have a family, that is a very important thing to me about how we're going to raise our kids, because everybody's parenting style is not the same, and which is fine. But if I want to raise my kid a certain way and yours is totally opposite, we need to find some kind of common ground on what's going to work best for our family.
Yeah, I agree with that. One thing I have like a question is kind of going back to what you were saying in the beginning, about going into a business deal, essentially treating a marriage like a business deal and pretty much laying your cards out on the table. I feel like a lot of couples, when it comes to kids, they don't necessarily have those conversations before they get married. They may have it like in a casual conversation, like, oh yeah, I want a family. But what does that family entail? To our way of thinking, it might be, okay, you want, you two guys together and a kid. Someone else could be like, I want us two and 7 cats and a dog. And that's their family, So
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times when we hear about, especially like celebrity marriages ending, it's kind of like they're not on the same page about the kid aspect of it. One person wants kids, the other person doesn't want kids. So do you feel like that's a crucial conversation that needs to be had prior to getting married? Because, if you get married to someone and you really want 7 kids and the person you married is like, I'm only giving you 2, that could be something that can make or break you guys.
I think that's a conversation that you should have had during the dating process. When I say dating process, I mean, hey, let's go out for drinks, let's go to dinner. Those are the questions that you ask. Because when you know the basis of that, you can move on to knowing if you want to be in a relationship. You shouldn't be dating somebody that you don't know if they want to have kids, if they believe in marriage, if if you are a person of religion, if they have the type of religion that you have. It's certain things that you should know before a title comes into play.
That's true. I just feel like a lot of people, they do, they have it, like I said, in casual conversation, but don't necessarily go into depth about it. Like, if someone was to ask me 5, 6, 7, well, I can't say 5, 6, 7 because I have a 7-year-old, but if someone was to ask me 10 years ago if I wanted a kid, my answer was definitely no, I don't want a kid. But when I met someone that I was like, okay, I can see a future with this person, and, he asked me, do you want a kid? And I'm like, you know what? I really don't. But if it happens, it happens. But I feel like that's something that person had to make a decision to accept if we ever got married, And a lot of times I feel people jump into it and they're not willing to accept that aspect. They think they can change that person once they get into a marriage, and it kind of causes rifts between them. I guess it goes back to really having strong communication skills prior to getting into a marriage.
Right, but having kids is such a big commitment in a relationship. It's in a marriage or relationship or anything. Me personally, I would never have a kid with a dude that ain't trying to put no ring on my finger, because I ain't trying to be I never wanted my kids to grow up in like a 2-parent household. That's just always been my goal in life, is to have my kid, have the mom and the dad. I give big props to the single parents out there, because Elaine, I love you, girl. I give you big props for real, because it's hard with two people, so I can even understand just one parent. But it's definitely a hit. It can definitely make or break a relationship, like Elaine said. And then you should definitely know before, like if you're on your knees proposing to me, you better know if we both want kids or not,
Right.
or how many kids we want. Because if you see yourself with me long term, that means you accept everything that I have already shown you and everything that I have been willing to show you and give you before I become your wife. So
Agreed.
there should be, yeah, that you should know that before you decide to get married.
And part of having your deal breakers, I think that it sets you up for knowing what type of questions you're going to ask on these dates that you come into. Because a lot of the times you waste time. You waste a lot of time trying to figure out what this person wants while you're in a relationship. Once, if you are sitting on these few dates that you're having with somebody and you know that they don't want kids, it's certain things that they don't want, you know that at this time it should just end as dating. A lot of the times people rush to just put a title on stuff and don't really know the person, and then you're getting
Or
to
it's
know
the
somebody.
lust.
Right. And then you're getting to know somebody in the relationship and you find out this person is not the person that you thought they were. And it's not that they're not the person you thought they were. It's just that you refuse to see it. Because people always show you who they are. But us as women always think we can change somebody. And you can't do that. And that's why it's good for you to know your deal breakers. Once you've tried, you gotta give it up and walk away, because you could be blocking your blessings from Russell or Sierra when you sitting there trying to hold on to this broken person that doesn't want to bend even a little bit to see things on your perspective. You have to know when enough is enough. You got to know when to walk away. That's where your deal breakers come into fact. Communication is important. Communication is very important in
Definitely,
relationships.
I so agree with you.
I'm pretty sure if Jess kept, excuse me for using you as an example, but if
That's
she
all right.
kept going in telling her husband like you don't do this, you don't do that, and he refused to listen, she still wouldn't be there today, because it wasn't something there's no communication. You can't keep talking to somebody and they keep disregarding what you're saying. That's why it's such a deal breaker.
I think too, like just making sure, you guys said in the dating stages, that these conversations are communicated well and there's an understanding. But I think too, where a lot of people lack is going the extra step, right? Just asking someone if they're down to have a kid or how many ever kids is not enough. Like for me, that's not enough, because like Jess said, like dating a man and seeing how he treats his mother and how he is around his family means a lot. And I feel like I have to take those things into consideration, because not only how you treat your family, but then I need to see you with like your nieces and your nephews or your little cousins and see how you respond to them. Of course, you're going to respond to your kid in a different way because they're your kids, but there's still a sign of, parent styling type of situation that you can see, right? I have seen people who are raising kids, and you can't tell somebody how to raise their kids, but you've seen people that's just the way they speak to their kids, the things they say to their kids, like, I know for sure I don't want to be that.
Right, exactly. And then they're like,
yeah.
oh, you can't tell me how to parent my kids, but honey, I'm trying to help you. I'm not trying to tell you how to parent kids. I'm trying to help you, because you
No, I don't help nobody with their kids. You want to talk to your kids?
That is one thing
It's just, but it's just like having a kid and seeing that, because you see it through a different eye when you have a kid. It's like, damn, I feel bad for that kid, because I wouldn't want my kid to feel that way if I was yelling at them. Like,
and that's why it's important when you're going into a relationship and you're thinking about long term with this person, that, hey, how are we going to raise our kids? Because that's not acceptable in my book, right? And just, again, being a person like, okay, it's one thing to have a kid with someone, and then it's like, okay, what happens now? Like, I want to build a legacy for my kids. I want to leave something for my kids to be proud of. I want my kids to have that advantage that most Black kids don't have. They don't have that generational wealth or that generational upbringing. You know what I mean? Like, these are things I need to make sure that we're on the same page about.
You got to break the generational curse. That's what you have to do.
Right. So you telling me you want the same number of kids I want, that's not enough for me. I need to get hit those other points.
Right. Ooh, that's deep, boy. But no, I definitely agree with what you're saying. It's a lot going into relationships and marriage. It's just a lot, because now you've always been one person by yourself. Now you're trying to form yourself into a pair. you know, it's always just been about you, and then it has to be about this whole other person, with whole different values and views of life and society, and you guys got to put yourselves together. That's why when you know, I can't even explain it, but when you know it's the person, you're gonna know. It's not even that it's something that you plan. It might just hit you over the head like nothing, but it's that feeling that it's just like a feeling that you can't shake. It's just like, dang, I know he's the one. I know he's the one that God sent to me. And, you know, I'm going to take heed to what God tells me, and I'm just going to follow the lead, and I'm going to go with the flow.
Oh, yes,
and I think that's the thing sometimes, because I think sometimes like a lot of people miss out on their soulmates because they're so stuck on, oh, what if he's like this dude, or what if he's like that dude, you know, instead of just going with the flow and getting a feel for this man. Because God will send you a man. Like I've always told my friends and everything, God's gonna always send you a man. And you know, when you know it's that man, he's gonna be that man, and ain't nobody else gonna be able to take your man from you. That's just how it's gonna go.
Right. That's very true. What's for you will always be for you. But I think that like that's like another one of my deal breakers, my non-negotiables, like the willingness to compromise, because at times I am not the most easiest person to deal with. I am a Virgo, so I'm very like, I shut your mouth.
My dad's a Virgo girl, so I know.
I want things my way because my way is the best way, right? That's how I'm thinking. And that's fine
we know how
when I'm by myself.
Who said something about Virgo?
I did.
Right. Don't come for us because there's 2 Virgos on this call.
And that's fine. I'm ready for both of you. It's fine. I listen, y'all are like mules. Y'all are stubborn. And sometimes that's where I love both of you. I know you for a while, Malia. I've known you for a very long time. But at one point in time, that's where you can mess up in a relationship, because you gotta understand, in a relationship, you can't not be willing to change. You cannot be willing not to change and expect everybody to change for you. You have to change too. You can't say, well, this is what it is, and I refuse to do anything else, because then how does that work?
Right. And I agree with that. And
you'll never benefit from that.
You won't.
Right. And that's where I think like the willingness to compromise comes in, because you know, when you enter a relationship, well, a marriage, I would say, you do make subtle changes to yourself that is just, okay, this change will benefit my marriage, you know? But you don't want to necessarily go into a marriage and just be like, well, now I just have to change my whole person. Like, whoever decides that they want to marry me, they're just going to have to understand that at times I can be very stubborn and I'll catch an attitude when things are not going my way. Give me a minute, I'll recover, and we can go on. Like, I'll be willing to hear what you have to say. Like, there's just certain things about me that you have to understand and be willing to accept, because at the end of the day, yes, I'll be willing to make certain changes, but I'm not going to make a whole 360 just to conform to what you want me to be.
Right. That sounds more like controlling.
Right. That's not there. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, just like it's certain things that you will never tolerate in a situation, it's certain things that other people will never tolerate. And in a relationship, sometimes it forces you to look at yourself and be like, do I need to change this or not? Like, because other people deal breakers. We may have our own deal breakers that just may not be, but when you get with somebody else, it makes you look at yourself and be like, do I need to change this? Maybe I do. And it's something that you never thought that you would ever change for anybody. But for this person, you would change it for, because it's necessary to keep what you have.
But I think that's it's a good medium of what Elaine and just said. Like, once you know, then you have to come to a common ground. But like Elaine said, like, I feel like there are just some core things about every individual person that is just the essence of who you are, and you shouldn't change that for people. There are characteristics that you should change. Like, maybe, you know, this is not working out. Maybe this is just a me thing where in a union, I have to bend on this. But the core of who you are it's not something you could change. You could pretend to change it, but eventually the core of who you are will come out, you know? And those are things that are not changing because that's just who you are. You could be conscious of it. Like Elaine said, if you notice that, hey, I do get into these moods, that could be a conversation to have with your partner. Like, listen, I've been single for a while and I do get into these moods. And now that we're in a relationship, it's going to take me a while to acknowledge that sometimes these moods are not good for my relationship. And I need you to be patient with me, or just call me out on it when I'm doing it, you know? But to just say like, hey, I'm never going to have mood swings is just it's not true.
Reality.
It's a lie.
It's not reality. That's what it is.
She said it's a lie.
So it's a lie, and you don't want to go into a relationship lying now. We're not liars. I'm going to show you what it is.
Some people are. Us on this call, we are not. But there are liars out there. They make it work.
Which is what makes it scary, because when you think about it, like, there'll be some motherfuckers that really be lying out there. So it's just a scary thing to think of. And that's why I'm glad that I don't have to date in this society, because, you know,
well, then
you don't have to rub it in. You do not have to rub it in.
I'm not rubbing it in. I'm sorry. I won't take it back, but I won't rub it in.
Oh, girl, live in your truth. You got you a good man, Savannah.
Man, the things that I hear, like, in today's society, it's like, I don't even understand what goes on no more. Seriously, like, my friends call me with crazy things. Of course, they call me with relationship advice all the time. And I'm like, this is what I would do in this situation, but I can't really tell you because I've never been in that situation. And if I was single, I wouldn't be in that situation because you dumb as hell. But anyways, go back. But
I love you, girl, but you stupid.
But like I said, there's women out there that submit to dudes that wouldn't even think of being in a relationship with them in a year, you know? So
but like Dre said, sometimes we think we could change people.
Exactly.
Right. I think the word submit is so important, because I was in, a long-term relationship with my son's father. And that was one of the main things, like him being very religious. I was extremely religious at the time. Like, I don't currently believe in organized religion. But back in the day when me and him was together, that was like our thing. That's what connected us pretty much. And he wanted our relationship and, our marriage, our future marriage, we were engaged, but he wanted it to be like I submitted to him. And that is not my personality at all. And I think it goes back to how I was raised. I was raised by a lot of strong women, and even in their relationships, their marriages, I've never seen them give up who they are, what they believe in, just to make a man happy. So to me, that was something that I never, to this day, I don't think I can fully submit to somebody, but I do realize that it is important to have some type of submission on both sides, and it goes back to what we were saying in the beginning, where it's kind of a give and take and see what you both can benefit from this relationship. And in order for you guys to benefit, you guys have to kind of submit to each other in certain things.
Yeah,
definitely agree, girl. Definitely.
The other thing that I kind of would touch base on, because I know a lot of people don't agree with the whole relationship is like a business deal, because when you think of business deal, you think of finances, right? And there has been research that a lot of relationship or marriages end because of finances. So do you feel like that is a discussion before, entering a marriage with someone or entering a partnership with someone?
Definitely. There are people out there that save their money. Listen, there are people out there that save their money. Let's say, hold on.
Oh, child.
It's the wine. It's the wine. That's why I'm laughing.
If you spending all your money on all these OnlyFans pages, that is something I need to know.
Oh no, that is a whole different discussion. It's not even about finances at this point. Why are you there?
That is a financial aspect. You want to be paying $7.77 to see this girl do whatever,
but that's
every month. I need to know.
No, but listen, back to the seriousness. There's people that save their money, and then there's people that spend their money as soon as they get it. So that's definitely a conversation to have, because you don't want to be with somebody that loves to spend money and then says, "Oh no, I didn't spend any money." Tell their partner, "Oh no, I didn't spend any money. Oh no, I didn't buy that. Oh no, I didn't this." Like, okay, now
We've been
it's
eating
getting to the
noodles and
point.
noodles all week.
Right. Yeah. Now it's getting to the
And
point where
banana
we need a new
sandwiches.
tire. We need a new tire, and you spent it to get some new shoes or something. You get what I'm saying? So that's definitely a
Right.
conversation that needs to be had.
And
before you
credit, like
get-
this is something that people.
Oh yeah, credit.
It's so
Yes.
sad. It is so, honestly, it is so sad. Like, all jokes aside, guys, it is so sad
Okay.
that, especially people in our community, like in the Black and Latino communities, we are not taught this. So it's kind of something that we have to teach ourselves. And when we get into a marriage, you think that this person is great, but when it's time to buy a house and they have a 340 credit score, what you doing with that?
Whoa.
You'll be surprised.
Hello?
Yes, honey,
Whoa.
I didn't think so, but this is definitely something that you guys need to talk about. And it's one thing, we all get into situations. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, I have the best credit in the world," because I've been in situations where my credit score was, really, really high, and where it was really, really low. But I think it's more so into like, okay, why, if your credit score is low and it's not something that you're working on, what is causing it to be low? Do you have all these delinquent charges on it? Are you not paying off your credit cards? Or you have a car note that you're not paying? Like, have you defaulted on all your loans? Right. Like, this is something that you guys definitely need to discuss, because when building a family, when having kids are so expensive. Kids are super expensive. And if you cannot afford it, that's going to cause a rift as well, because now you have someone who's like, "Well, I want to build this family with 7 kids," and your pockets is like, "Well, you could barely
can't even have
to
one.
feed yourself." Right. So, and it's like, you don't even, and it's even that, like, okay, you get into a marriage with someone, and let's say they have less than perfect credit, their credit is not up to par, but yours is good, and you decide that you want to buy this house, or they want to get a car, you want to get them a car, you co-sign on something for them. Guess what? If that marriage doesn't work out, God forbid, that is on you, and that's bringing your credit score down. So that is definitely, finances is definitely something that needs to be discussed prior to even getting married, because engagement rings are not cheap. You don't want them putting it on their credit card and then you get stuck paying the bill for your own ring.
I'm dead.
No.
A word. That is the word.
Right. Weddings are not cheap at all.
Everybody go to the courthouse.
I'm telling you. Let me tell you. I don't want to go to the courthouse, but I definitely don't want to spend a ton of money on weddings.
No.
Like, I don't understand it. I don't know why people do it. But if you invite me, child, I'm coming.
Right. But that stuff is not cheap. And then that's something, like, those are expenses. Honeymoons are not cheap. Those are expenses that you don't want to, it's kind of shoved in the back of the closet when it's y'all going through the honeymoon phase. And then all of a sudden you pick up their mail, you see this credit card bill for $35,000. Guess what? Now you're married to this person and you're semi-responsible. Yeah. So that is something that is definitely important to discuss prior to even getting married. If your finances are not in order, I still love you. You don't have to put a ring on my finger yet because you cannot afford it. But when you can, we'll talk about it then.
But even then, I kind of feel a little different. Like you said, Elaine, a lot of us are not taught credit or how credit works in our community, right? These kids go off to college to get approved for all these loans. They get approved, for credit cards. Most of us get credit cards when we're in college. And, college life is hard. That is your broke time, honey. You out here, especially if you're living on campus, you are struggling.
Oodles and noodles are your best friends.
Girl, them oodles and noodles, when you stay back up, them oodles and noodles not free.
Yo, those spicy chicken ones, shoot, them jokes was bomb.
So it's like, these kids go through these process and then they get into adulthood, like real adulthood, after you graduate and you're like, oh, this is what the life look like. I'm not ready, right? I could understand if I meet a man who is ready to settle down and his credit is not A1, right? Because, my credit ain't bad, but I'm still working on it, right? It's not where I want it to be. So if he's in a position where, like you said, my credit is better than his, if he's serious about me, that is one of those things you're going to have to work on to to show me you're serious about. I'm going to have to see you showing up, and I need to see that you're working so I could know that, okay, he's serious about this. So then we come up with a plan. Then we come up with a financial plan. What we're going to do for the next year and a half. You want to marry me? You want to propose? Okay, we're going to be engaged, and then we're going to plan to get married in the next year and a half, 2 years. And in the meantime, this is what we're going to work. This is where we're both trying to get to so we can get a house. Because one thing I'm not doing is get married, have a roommate. That's not my husband. We're not doing that.
Right.
So we need a plan. We need to map out this plan and how we're going to get to this plan as a unit. So when we do have our lives together, we're not worrying about, we can't get this kind of house because one of us
Right. I need to know that we can build the legacy together.
Girl,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
That legacy is real. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people in our community are not thinking. Everybody's living now. Everybody want to drive the nice car now. Everybody want to, look flashy. You out here with a Gucci belt, but you on the bus. What are you doing?
Right. Like, that is something very important to discuss. That is like number one. If you guys are not discussing finances, and I get it, a lot of people try to avoid it because it is a tough conversation to have, especially with someone who is financially illiterate, like most people are. They might be ashamed of their current financial status, but that's so important that you guys sit down and you guys have that conversation. If you guys need to get a financial analyst to look at stuff so you guys can say, okay, this is what we're working with, this is what we need to do to get where we want to be, then that's fine. But that is definitely, do not hide your finances from your spouse. Like,
absolutely not. And it should be a conversation. And yes, people do get embarrassed about it. But if you're looking at this person like, this is the person I want to build with, as uncomfortable as it is, that person, you owe that person that conversation, because there is no way you could be binded with someone and start a life with someone and your finances do not affect. Like, that's just impossible.
Right. Exactly. And another thing, you shouldn't be embarrassed of your finances, especially if you're speaking out to do something about it. Like,
no, Jay, some people should be embarrassed. If you are that person with Gucci belt,
I mean, but see, none of us in here, we smart. We ain't going for no dudes like that. Those are people that care about what society thinks. You can't deal with people. You can't deal with people that care about what society thinks, because you're gonna constantly live in a loophole about what people think, or that you're here being, paranoid because you think this person thinks this about you or this person thinks this about you. Nobody wants to deal with that shit. Yeah, nobody wants to deal with that shit. So if I'm telling you my finances, don't judge me. I'm speaking out to you because I love you. I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you. This is something that I'm willing to work on with you so that we can build the legacy together. It's not about my finances are bad. I don't need you to judge me. I need you to help me. Let's fix this together. You're my girl. You're my woman, or you're my man. And let's do this together. That's the whole point. And that's the way God intended the world to go around,
And
a man and a
woman. Where it goes back to communication, because if you guys have open and honest lines of communication, there will be nothing that you guys cannot sit down and have an honest and open, judgment-free conversation about, So it's really important to build that foundation whenever you're going, when you get into a relationship, it's important. But once you make the decision that this is something serious, it's the same thing. Like, that's why I say it's very, very similar to a business transaction, because when you go into a partnership with somebody, you want to make sure that their finances are good. You want to make sure that they don't have any things like bankruptcy on their credit report. That's something that would be important to a business. You want to make sure that they have certain skill sets, that they're able to communicate, because if you're building a big company where they're going to have to manage other people, you want to make sure that this person is not going to be stepping on everybody's toes and you're going to have to keep hiring people every month. These are certain things that is very important in a business, and it's also very important in a relationship. So that's why I feel like a serious relationship and a marriage is very much like a business transaction.
Yeah. And like you said, entering a business, you have to understand the risk. And being with someone who has a history of carelessness when it comes to finance, that is a risk. And it is a risk that must be put on the table. So I could know for sure if I want to take on this risk. like, meeting someone that has trouble with credit card because of student loans and, they haven't been able to, those things are understandable versus the person who just max out every credit card to buy things that they really don't need and just have a bad spending habit. Things count in making a decision into going into a partnership with this person.
In a relationship, you're kind of scoping out the business, seeing if you want to invest in this business, if you want to go far with this business, if you want to open up more bubusinesses,
open up more business.
Like kids and shit.
That's the kids. The kids is the other part of the business.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute.
But I mean,
y'all know that's illegal, right?
It's definitely not, because you make this small business so it could become big and successful, and that's that small business, and you want it to become big and successful if you're talking about relationships being a business. But at the end of the day, why would you wait until you get into a marriage to know that this person is not good with money when you know that during dating? This is why I'm saying if relationships is like a business, it should be a business from the day you say hello.
Maybe
if you're dating someone
at the moment you say hello, because when you go into an interview, the moment you step into that interview, they start to judge you as how you look, how you speak, your resume. They look at your resume to see if you qualify for the job before you can get an interview. So
but that's the dating stage.
Starting like a business. Again, like I said, why would you wait to marriage to disqualify this person?
No, that's not what we said. We said that these are conversations you need to have while dating to know if you want to enter into the business, aka marriage.
Right. It's a conversation that definitely needs to be had once the relationship starts to get serious, because we're all grown. We've been in plenty of relationships where it's just like, you just know that this is not going to be long term. So to me, I don't really care about knowing your finances if I already in my head know that this is never going to work as a marriage. Like, this is just going to be what it is for the moment, and that's it. Like, I'm going to learn what I can learn about this from this relationship, and I'm going to take that information and apply it to my next relationships. It's kind of like levels.
That goes back to
very
wasting
rare.
time.
Like, I don't think it's wasting time, because it's very rare. Like, in Jessica's case, her and her husband started a relationship when they were 14, 15 years old, which is very young. For them to still be together right now is a blessing. Like, that is something that is so taken for granted, because it is so hard to find that nowadays. So nowadays, like, when you're older, like, you're in your 30s, it's hard to date at your 30s, but you kind of have your mindset where, okay, these are the things that I want, and the goal is marriage. But when you're 14, 15, 16, or even in your early 20s, that marriage may not be the first thing on your mind. You might just be thinking about, okay, this is someone, I just want companionship. So then I don't think it's necessarily have to be treated as a business deal. But once it gets serious and you guys start talking about taking the relationship to the next level, those are definitely conversations that need to be had. And that's when that business mindset kind of needs to come in.
See, I don't agree with that. And I don't know if Jessica can back me up on this, but when you get your first boyfriend or you get in your first relationship, at that moment, that person is the person that you're thinking about forever. You're not thinking about this is going to end or what's going to happen or the next person after. Like, I know for me, when I had my boyfriend at 14, and Mahalia can attest to this, I thought that it was never going to be an end to us. Mm-hmm. I thought that to this day, at my 30s, that we were going to be married. And yeah, we still talk to this day, and we've formed what Mahalia calls a weird friendship. But at the end of the day, during that time, I think my beginning and my end with that person. So you shouldn't be I don't think people look at that at their teenage years. Like, I think anybody can attest when they had their first boyfriend and they first love, that's who the person they thought that they were still going to be with to this day.
Right. And, that's how I felt, of course, being, with my husband now. But I feel like it happened a different way for me. Like, it happens a different way for everyone. At that time, when I was 14 years old, I was going through some deep stuff. I got sexually assaulted by a family member and stuff. So I was going through a lot of stuff. And I felt like God set my husband into my life to help me. And then it ended up turning into something, something
remarkable.
Exactly. A 2-year-old daughter, we're happy. We're, of course, don't get me wrong. We've been through some shit now. We've we've been through some shit, but every single time I prayed to God of, God, show me what to do with my life. Show me where my life needs to go. He was always in the picture every single time God showed it to me. So I knew then. So, like I'm saying, I agree with Andrea, but then at the same time, I agree with Elaine. Once you know that it's serious, because you could date for 2-3 months and still not know if it's going to be serious thing or not. I feel like by the 5th month, if you don't think it's going to be serious, it's time to just let the whole thing go.
Right, and this is why I don't believe in rushing a title.
Right, exactly. Like,
but
go ahead.
I get where Elaine is coming from too, because like Drea said, initially when you have your first boyfriend, of course you're thinking this is my everything. We're just going to be old and gray together. But when that doesn't happen and you start dating and you start getting older and you're still dating, of course there are times you run into people and you date and you just be like, "Ooh, boo, this ain't it." Like this
right. But at this moment, it should be, this ain't it for my body or my time. You need to walk away from it completely, because that's where a lot of us make our mistakes. What I'm trying to say, you shouldn't have to wait till there's an engagement and there's a ring to know that this person has deal breakers. Your deal breakers should start at the dating spot. The first date, if you want to say if the first date is an interview.
Nah, for real.
The first date, if you want to say business relationships or marriages are like a business deal, the first date is an interview. You want to see if that first date goes well, you want a second interview. And maybe by the third date, you might hire them and keep this as a person that you may really want to keep in contact with and have like a better understanding of. But once this person
come through HR,
but once this person but once this person come in and you start seeing that this person is tardy and they don't have good work ethic, you're not gonna go give that person a promotion to your boyfriend.
This is true too, but I think too, like, yes, we all have deal breakers, but I think you kind of ease those deal breakers into the interview process, as you call it.
Deal breakers are deal breakers.
I don't think on the first date you want to talk about, well, what's your credit score? I think that would be, if somebody asked me that on a first date, I'd be like, you are getting way too personal. I don't even know you like that. Let's take a step back.
That's true.
Let's get to know each other on a surface level first, and then we can start diving into those things.
But at a certain point in time, you're gonna be tired of telling dudes your favorite color. So you gotta know when.
I like all colors of the rainbow. I like all colors, all of God's colors. I like.
Right. But this is what I'm saying about. This is what I'm saying about the interview process, the first date, and one date becoming many dates, and during many dates and many conversations, these are things that you start to ask someone.
Right.
This is, and if
I agree.
You don't wait. It's not going to take you. It's not going to take you a whole year. They say it takes 2 years for you to get to know somebody.
No,
but to truly get to know somebody, because listen, people hide who they are and they hide it well. It takes like a real crazy situation for you to know who you're dealing with sometimes.
Right. Unless that person is just a pure person. Like, there's just pure people out there. But if you ain't dealing with a person that's pure, you gotta just, like you said, they can hide yourself for 2 years, 2-3 years. Then y'all move in together.
That's exactly that. Hiding yourself.
But this is why. But this is exactly why.
You're dating Jason.
I had mentioned this to Elaine and Mahalia before. I feel like before there's a marriage process, and this is for me, if they're during the engagement process, y'all need to move in with each other, because you get to see them hidden things that they hid from you during the dating process, to see if you can deal with it, to see if they leave their sneakers in the middle of the floor, they step out their clothes, or they're messy, or they don't wash dishes or something. You get to see that before you get into a marriage, because a lot of times people just be like yes to say that they're married, and then they get in with their spouse and they be like, who the fuck is this person?
Yeah, but see, Dre has expressed this to me, and I kind of don't agree with that. I feel like I don't want you to live with me. Like, we could have those sleepovers every now and then, but I don't want you to live with me because I have this in my my head, where I've seen many women who get into these situations and move in, and you over here living, 10 years in, 5 kids in with no ring, and I don't want that to be my story.
Did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said? I said during the engagement process.
And they'll be engaged for 10 years, 10 kids in.
And at that moment, let me explain to you, you got me fucked up. That's when boundaries come into play.
No, for real.
Here's the thing, a man is only going to do what you allow. A woman is only going to do what you allow. If you let him come in and move in with you and you don't have a date and your expectations is just that, he's going to keep giving you what you expect and nothing more.
That's the word, but I'm not even going to open that door, honey.
I mean, we can close it back.
I do think that it's good to experience, you guys living together, because you do learn a lot about somebody when you move in together. But I don't necessarily agree with the fact that, you get to know everything about a person prior to you guys getting married, because like you said, people can keep a mask up for a very long time. And I think a marriage is you're continuously learning things about each other. People evolve.
Listen, right. Me and John been together for such a long time. I'll still be learning stuff about him all the time. I probably learn 3 things new about him a week, which is good. That's why I love that me and him are different, but we're the same at the same exact time. So, it's just, I love to learn new things about him it just keeps the relationship fresh, I know what I'm getting at home. So whatever you got to say to me or whatever, you holler at me or whatever, it's just going to go right over my head because I know what I have at home and I'm not going to jeopardize that for anybody.
As much as you learn somebody and you know them in a relationship and in the dating phase, no matter how long you guys dated, the responsibility of a husband and a boyfriend and a fiance is different, and it will feel different once that union happens.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that.
That's true.
That's very true. But when I said the moving in with one another, I'm not saying that you're gonna know somebody 100% or they're gonna show you. What I'm saying is you get to know the little things that you can consider if you want to deal with or not. When somebody's a visitor in your house, it's certain things that they know they cannot do or they're never gonna come back. They're not gonna be invited. Like, I don't know Jessica. So she came into my house and just went into my refrigerator. I'm gonna be like, oh, who this woman?
For real. You better go pay that light bill.
Right. It's certain things that you won't be able to see. But when you move into with somebody, it's certain things that they won't be able to hide. I'm not saying that they won't hide anything, but it's certain things that you'll be able to see that you'll be like, maybe this is not the right thing for me. Maybe I can't do this. Hey, I asked you to not leave your clothes in the middle of the floor. You don't have a maid. And he may come out his mouth and be like, well, that's what I'm about to marry you for. And you gonna be like, come again, excuse me? Excuse me? You get to see. It's really a test of your relationship because you can't hide who you are and they can't hide who they are. They get to see who you are when you wake up in the morning and get to see who you are when you go to sleep at night. That's what a marriage is.
Right. I definitely agree with that, girl.
I do feel like in a long-term relationship, even if you're not living together, in a long-term relationship, when you guys are spending time and spending weekends together, a week together, there are things that you up on. I'm not saying I disagree with moving in, but I don't feel like it's essential. Before I marry you, I have to live with you. I don't feel that.
That's just my personal opinion. That's my test. That's the rules of my test drive. I don't think
my test drive.
That's my test drive. Everybody don't have to follow what I'm saying. I think that it's easier for me to know, okay, we've lived together and he gets to see some of the things that I'm not okay with and I get to see if he's not okay with and I get to see if I want to make the change and if he gets to see if he wants to make the change and maybe this relationship is not what it is and we need to go our separate ways and that's okay too.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, everybody, let us know what your test drive is. Do you need a test drive? And how do you approach relationships? Do you feel like relationships are a business deal? Leave a comment. You could reach us at mydrinkmytruth@gmail.com. Tell a friend to listen. And ladies, anything else you would like to say?
I have to say this. Ladies, when you meet the one, don't run him away. Fellas, when you meet the one, don't run her away. it's time for us to go back to the times where we have loving couples and 2-parent households. And I'm just going to speak that into everybody's future right there. That's all.
Amen, Jess.
Yes, honey.
Amen, Jess. It's a wrap. Thank you for listening to My Drink and My Truth, episode 2. Cheers.
Cheers.
Lit, y'all. I'm lit. I'm on my 4th glass of wine. I'm lit.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.